This is a follow-up to my first response where I called out David for lying about the American Academy of Pediatric's position on circumcision. I did a little more research into this and I found the exact National Public Radio article that David was commenting on. And if you read the article, David essentially just reads the highlights and he clearly did not do any other research, and nor did he look at the AAP's full statement. Yes, he made statements that were lies, but it was not deliberate as I had previously stated. He lied unintentionally, since the article does not include the full statement by the AAP. The NPR article was titled, "Pediatricians Decide Boys Are Better Off Circumcised Than Not." But what was completely omitted from the story, and thus it was completely omitted from David's coverage of the story, is the following statement by the AAP. The benefits are not great enough to recommend universal newborn circumcision. The final decision should be left to the parents to make in the context of their religious, ethical, and cultural beliefs. Do these statements fall in line with David's description that all newborn baby boys should be circumcised, which at present is still in the description for David's coverage of the story? This falls in line with a phenomenon that allows people to accept information that reinforces the values and beliefs they already hold and dismisses information which contradicts them. In my last video, I claimed that David did only one follow-up, but at that time, I had only heard the emails he read from Boo Boo and the Eggman, and I still stand by my assertion that reading Boo Boo's accusation that Lewis is a pedophile and that harm should come to his penis, that was a deliberate attempt to mock the anti-circumcision movement as unintelligent fringe radicals. I was pleasantly surprised to hear a third segment where David poses the question to Natan on whether he thinks that they might be subconsciously biased to be pro-circumcision. Not only did Natan not answer if he thought he might have a bias, but he essentially proves it by saying that in this specific case it's fine, but that there might be some other religions that might do something horrible, and that there is no consensus that circumcision damages the body, so we should err on the side of tradition and let people do what they want. I mean, it's obvious Natan has not educated himself on the anti-circumcision side of the debate. Natan admits he has very little interest in this subject, and why would he? What would be in it for him? For all of us, there are many more subjects we are not passionate about and find to be non-issues than subjects we are passionate about and find interesting. Why would I spend hours of the finite amount of time I have to live doing research on athlete's foot or open heart surgery or the best way to make tuna casserole? Much in the same way that most Republicans are only Republicans because of their parents, Natan is pro-circumcision because his parents are pro-circumcision. If you were to ask most Republicans why they believe in the policies they support, much like Natan, they will have done little to no real research as to exactly why. However, they know they love their parents, and they know their parents are not evil people who would mislead them as to the realities of the world. They do not feel the need to invest precious time confirming what they already know in their gut to be true. They do not need facts or logic or reason because what they know to be true is true. And it was very nice to hear David pose the morality with Muhammadi scenario, and while I can normally expect to hear a clear-cut answer from Lewis that is based in logic and reason, you can see Lewis is unsure of his response on this one. Both he and Natan know in their hearts that circumcising a 17-year-old is flat-out immoral. And so they have to, you hear Lewis, he starts to stammer between 16 and 15 and then goes back to 16. The reality is, if a healthy boy of any age is being forced against his will to have healthy skin removed from his healthy penis, they would know it's child abuse. What makes it okay for babies is that they have no clue what is about to happen to them. Here's something that was not mentioned in the AAP report, the NPR article, and thus David's coverage, is that studies show that circumcision is significantly painful, traumatic, and affects the brain as evidenced by large increases in heart rate, blood pressure, and stress hormone levels during circumcision. Some infants don't cry because they go into shock. After circumcision, there are changes in infant behavior, sleep patterns, activity level, irritability, There are disruptions in mother-child bonding and feeding. Anesthetics, if used, consist of injections into the penis and do not eliminate circumcision pain altogether. Natan believes we should err not on the side of caution, but on the side of tradition, because the medical community cannot come to a consensus. Do babies have a right to genital integrity when their health is not in immediate danger? Or should they be subject to the whim of their parents' religion, as the AAP recommends? The final decision should be left to parents to make in the context of their religious, ethical, and cultural beliefs. And as an atheist, this statement is exactly the same as if they had said, the final decision should be left to the parents to make in the context of the position of the moon in relation to Jupiter. Why is a medical association recommending that people use superstition to assist them in medical decisions which will affect their child for the rest of their life? At the very least, this shows that there is a religious and cultural bias to the study, which David could not comment on because it was not included in the NPR article. I'd still like to see David correct the information that he gave out on his original story, as it's definitely damaged his credibility in my eyes. We all have a finite amount of time in our week to eat, sleep, work, play, and inform ourselves about the world. If David is simply going to paraphrase one single article without finding opposing views or the full context of the story, he is doing a disservice to his audience, whose only exposure to that story might be him.
Up until what age do the parents get to decide whether the kid has a circumcision or not?
Well, I'd say when you're legally an adult, but at the same time, I might say something like 16, 15, 16.
You know you're a fucking mumbling, stuttering little fuck, you know that?